Yay. Hopefully this thing doesn't move too much because everywhere I clip it, it starts flopping all around me. But I'm in this ball. I'm going to edit it out almost to the edge, but I got to make sure you can see it until I edit it out since I commented on it. I am going to write my son's to-do list for today, and I'm going to talk about some parenting truths that I have recently discovered and believe that you should know. Because I don't really have any more verses in my head right now, because there isn't really any other verses that should be talked about. Because if you're going to feed your kids specifically, dress them specifically, I think you've gotten the point. It's really what works for you, what you prioritize, and being flexible on the fact that that may change thanks to your kid. So, something I've started, I did not grow up in the greatest environment. Definitely could have been worse, but, there was no emotional needs met. How about that? And because of that, and having borderline and bipolar and probably ADHD and all of these things, I was essentially thrown into a room and, dealt with my tantrums that way. So as an adult, I've had to teach myself how to properly emotionally deal with things, how to react to individuals based on certain behaviors, get through this abandonment. So it's taken a lot. But either way, one of the biggest things for me is there's always been hardships throughout, being a parent. Every season of life comes with hard. And it's new, it's something you're not used to, and it's stuff that you have to adjust your life for, so there's always a hard. But something with David is he is going in to puberty, which when he has parents like he does, and not the best way to be taught until, probably the last 5 years of his life. And he's 9, so the most important years was crazy. Is really emotional regulation and communication, which I already suck at it in my marriage, let alone in my life. So of course I'm not going to do good at it in parenting. So I'm really, taking ADHD. I'm reading a book about it, really trying to dive deep and understand this, because basically the therapist said this is the core of who he is this ADHD, why he acts the way that he does, writing the line of ADHD and autism. And so I'm diving deep into research on that so I can understand his why and also recognize that, he's 9. He's not going to be able to change behaviors like my husband and I. We're older. We can use our brain on things. Understanding a why and then learning to do different things is going to come not as easy, but definitely easier to us. So right now, I've really focused on to-do boards, learning about things to make, put this, almost bubble around him the best I can. Help him in ways I know he's going to fail. Less expectations. And that's the biggest thing is expectations as a parent. We have too many expectations because of what was taught to us from generational. But kids should never have expectations. They will literally always fail. Literally always. Now, that does not mean that they can get away with murder. But that also means recognizing, does your kid have anything going on with them like ADHD? And also recognizing their age and what's actually normal for their age. Not based on what parents have said, but scientifically normal for maturity, for their brain development, all of these things. Because kids are fucking assholes, okay? That's just the way they are. We were assholes, and our parents can handle it. And that's why they tried to make us be this, robot, which is just unrealistic. And don't get me wrong, I wish that my kids would be compliant. I wish David would be compliant, specifically the twins are, barely one. So things that I've really come to realize is it's me. It's not them. We can't change them. All we can do is research to understand their why from the age that they're at and if they have any elements. And especially if you were not the greatest parent and had issues. Josh and I had a horrible first 5 years of David's life between our relationship mainly. And so that's also things to think and take in consideration. Luckily, his therapist said maybe a little bit of anxiety, but it's mainly driven by ADHD and just has some triggers a little bit more probably because of that. But either way, that is things that you need to consider it and do research on before you're even willing to change any style of parenting. That should be step number one. And then step number two is learning how to parent these people. I'm currently taking a parenting course specifically for spicy ones. She doesn't do ADHD or things like that. You know, it doesn't matter if you're diagnosed or not. But either way, I think it's just really changed my look on how I feel about parenting, on how I feel about relationships. And I've had this conversation about relationships in my previous post of just kind of ranting. And this comes into with kids is we cannot change them. We can only change ourselves. And yes, we can guide them. I do things with regulation with him every day. I have him doing things he doesn't like, stick to a schedule. You know, long term, we'll teach him, even though your ADHD says you're only allowed to do things you're like, there are things that you're going to have to do that you don't like. You do need to have semi-responsibility of your room. Maybe not every day, but regularly pick it up, the trash and the dishes out of your room so it doesn't stink. Have a responsibility like his fish tank. We're doing his school regularly, but he's not going to change the fact that he's going to be having a tantrum certain days, let alone the majority of the days. This is just thinking long term. This will help you when you're an adult. If I keep doing this and I start this now, by the time you're an adult, you're at least going to semi get it in your head that these things are necessary. But I was taken away from our relationship because of his behavior. And when I really looked at his behavior for the age of being 9, almost in puberty, for having ADHD / autism, and for, you know, things that Josh and I have done in the past, it all makes sense. And it's really those first two things. It's just the age, really. A majority of kids' behavior is age and maturity. And that was a really hard thing for me to accept. But it's also made me look at our day-to-day life so much differently. And has it been a quick fix? No. But obviously that's why I'm out here doing things to make myself better. But I also think other people should take into consideration that if you don't actually understand, even if you don't take a parenting course, read some parenting books. You can get them through a library and do your research on kids. Do your research on how to properly parent them, because I was definitely losing my relationship with my child over behavior that's actually uncontrollable on his end for the most part. And my parenting course literally said, schedule in the tantrum. And that has stuck with me so intensely. Schedule in this tantrum. When we are going to leave someplace, especially places we don't want to go, but any place in general, I lay things out for David. I mentally prepare if he needs a shower. I mentally prepare him for the shower. Do you need a shower the night before? Do we need a shower the day of? If you're showering the day of, this is the time you're going to wake up. And that's including extra time for him to just, dawdle and lose his mind, both, because he does both of them. He gets distracted and he has to be centered to do things. And if all goes well, he'll have extra time to sit there and just watch videos until we leave. If it doesn't, we're not late, or not that late, because I've prepared. And that took many of years of realizing he's not like that. Also do that with my husband for the most part. Obviously, he doesn't have tantrums, but I have to stay on top of him with timing. Why can't I do that with homeschool? Why can't I do this with his day-to-day life? And that was just not clicking to me until I heard that. And I think that just goes to show, for me anyway, is that the relationship is always more important than the behavior. I don't care what other people think. I don't care what other family members have to say. All I care about is the connection we have and then guiding him to be a better adult. And I shouldn't expect a child to act like an adult. That's my job. I'm supposed to teach him to be an adult by not only showing him these things, but also guiding him by how I figured out how to be this way. And the only way for me to be able to do that was research and taking a parenting course. Now, of course, everyone's access to money is totally different, but you can get books on this. You can get free access to this, even through county, child and family resources, CPS even. Like, it's not, they're not going to look down on you for needing extra help. They're going to gladly give it to you because you're asking for it. You want to be a better parent. And being a good parent is recognizing, oh, this isn't working. I'm going to change it for the sake of them. That's it. And on that note, I'm going to end because the twins are done eating.